The Google Chrome Incognito system is still transmitting your browsing data right now, and the FTC can't stop it. You opened a private window. The padlock appeared. The gray screen promised your activity would never be saved. That was the lie. Buried inside a 2023 court filing is the internal document that proves Google's engineers knew it, logged it, and built it that way. That document has a name, and we're going to read it. Chrome is the most used browser on Earth. 2 billion installs. Incognito mode launched in 2008 as the answer to the privacy problem. A sandbox session, no cookies saved, no history written, a clean slate every time you close the window. Google marketed it to people who wanted genuine separation between their personal and professional lives. People who didn't want their searches following them. People who thought they were invisible. Inside Google, they had a name for those people. They called it the incognito misconception. That phrase is not speculation. It is in the deposition transcript. Here is what incognito was actually doing. Every session, every private window you opened was still sending data back to Google's servers. Not saved history, not cookies, something worse. Fingerprint data. Your browser version, your screen resolution, your installed fonts, your device time zone, your language settings, your graphics renderer. Individually, these look like technical noise. Combined, they form a persistent identifier, a fingerprint that follows you across every incognito session you ever opened. No cookie required. And attached to that fingerprint, every URL you visited, every search you ran, every product you looked at in a window you were told was private. A 2020 internal Google memo surfaced during discovery used the phrase private in name only. That memo was flagged for legal review. It wasn't deleted, it was filed. And it's still running. In 2023, a federal judge in California ruled that Google had systematically misled users about what incognito actually did. A class action representing 136 million people moved forward. The number on the table, $5 billion. The FTC had already been watching Google's data practices. A 2019 consent decree had supposedly put guardrails on how the company collected user information. That decree was still active when the incognito lawsuit was filed, which means Google was operating a surveillance pipeline in direct tension with a federal agreement. The FTC did not file a motion, did not open a new investigation, issued no emergency injunction. The system kept running. And here's the part nobody reported. The regulator already knew. This is the mechanism that makes it unstoppable. The data Chrome collects in incognito doesn't travel as a single packet labeled user browsing data. It moves through a system called RAPPOR, Randomized Aggregatable Privacy-Preserving Ordinal Response. Google invented RAPPOR. Google published the research paper on RAPPOR. And Google uses RAPPOR to argue legally that the data it collects is anonymized before it ever reaches a server. The definition of anonymized is load-bearing here. Under RAPPOR, your raw fingerprint is locally randomized before transmission. The randomization introduces noise, but Google controls the noise algorithm. Google controls the aggregation keys. And Google has the scale, 2 billion installs, to denoise anonymized data and reconstruct individual patterns at will. The legal loophole, data that is anonymized in transit, is not covered under most U.S. state privacy statutes. California's CCPA has an anonymization carve-out. So does Virginia's CDPA. So does Colorado's CPA. Every major state privacy law passed in the last 4 years contains the same exemption that RAPPOR was designed to exploit. The $5 billion settlement was announced in January 2024. It required no admission of wrongdoing, no shutdown of the telemetry pipeline, no audit of what was collected. Google updated the incognito disclaimer text. The fingerprinting handshake, still running. What this means for you is specific. If you have ever opened an incognito window on a Chrome device, a medical search, a job application, a legal question, a financial search you didn't want tied to your account, that session generated a telemetry handshake. That handshake carried a fingerprint. That fingerprint was transmitted to Google infrastructure. It sits in a dataset you have no legal right to access, tied to a persistent identifier you didn't consent to create, covered by an anonymization definition written by the company that benefits from it. You cannot delete it. You cannot request it under any current U.S. data access law because the law says it doesn't exist. Your browser, the one running right now, is the audit trail, and nobody is auditing it. The question that has never been answered in court, in Congress, or in a single FTC filing: if the data is truly anonymous, why does Google's ad targeting sharpen every time you browse in incognito? Who benefits when your private medical search surfaces as a targeted insurance ad 3 days later? The settlement is paid. The disclaimer is updated. The engineers who wrote that memo are still employed. And somewhere on a server you will never see, a persistent identifier with your fingerprint on it is sitting in a table called user not found. Who's reading it?